I played online chess for well over a year before I played competitive over the board. Just on the counter. Once I started playing kind of trained athletes, I struggled to defend. And even if I was close throughout the middle game, once they got in my territory at all, better players beat me. Since I didn't know how to play chess and I didn't grow up playing like many of my competitors over the board did, I took what I knew, which was systems. And I began trying to recognize pieces that could coordinate in an attack together. And I would take that cluster and say, okay, it's a priority 2 and an urgency 3. So everything I assessed was on a priority and urgency basis, because that's how I learned to troubleshoot systems. At the lower levels, athletes don't use rooks and bishops together that well. So it might be a lower priority, but the urgency could be high, because if they do it correctly, that could get me that fast. And that kept me from losing. And if you don't lose at the lower levels, you hang in there and sometimes turn it around. My cousin Ashton is visiting me again. He's going to take a second crack at shitty old Jimmy Bot. The difference is Ashton is one battle wiser, and I have added a cheat sheet. So, Ashton?
I was actually telling my mom that you taught me a lot of the basics of how to play chess. And I told her, I was like, yeah, I think I can get it. I said, I just need to remember all the exact moves they can make off the top of my head. But that's why I like this app, is it won't let you move it where you can't move it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So it kind of just teaches you by default.
It's good. Yeah. And so these are the general values of each piece. So a pawn is worth 1. If you can get 3 pawns for a bishop or a knight, basic like that, then it's fine. Queen is worth 9, so the equivalent of 1 rook, 1 bishop, 1 pawn, however you want to view it. And when starting, just ask. If you're confused, you don't know what to do, just say, what am I worrying about? And then try to assess the position.
So in a game, if there's a time limit and the game isn't concluded, do they just go by who has the most pieces on the chessboard? If the queens are both alive? Yeah.
If the time runs out, whoever ran out of time loses. So they could have all the advantages in the world, but if they run out of time, they
No, but I mean, lose. Like, they don't cap it where they're like, okay, you guys are going to play each other for an hour.
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah.
They have a time control. But sometimes it does get so complicated where you do run out of time, even at the highest level.
Yeah.
Actually, probably more likely at the highest level, because it's so close. A lot of times at the lower levels, someone messes up and it kind of ends the game. Yep. So in the opening, you wanted to fight in control center.
Ooh.
Let me know if you need anything. I'm going to get the pizza ready. Nova will help you. Nova, if Ash has any questions, Nova's a chess though. Yeah, see, Nova's ready to help.
These guys can only move forward.
Nova wants to help.
Correct?
What's your question?
These things can only move forward, right?
The pawns, yes, and they capture diagonally.
Oh, they can only capture diagonally?
Yeah, so if there were a black pawn on e5, you could capture it. But they are blocked right now.
Well, yeah, he can't, and he can only jump me diagonally, too, right? He can't take me here.
Yeah, he can't take you there. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Okay.
What?
Yeah. So that's okay. Minor mistake. I'll be careful there.
Oh, yeah, because he's diagonal.
Yep, and right there, what am I worrying about? And then try to think 2 full moves ahead.
If I go here, he can't jump me here.
If you go to h4?
Yeah.
Correct.
this game. And what? How can this one jump diagonally, right?
Yeah, it moves diagonally. Yep.
So when is it most wise to be more aggressive with like this piece?
Now, good question. And by aggressive, what do you mean? If not, I'll tell you what I think you mean.
Like what? Like should I only use it if I can use it to knock something off, or even just to get a good position?
Great question. In the opening, it's a fight for control. So you want to control things, and the best or one of the more logical ways would be, just where is that dark bishop going to control things the most at?
Okay, let's see.
So we're committed to moving our dark bishop, correct? Which is fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm trying to. How many moves can it go diagonally?
As many as long as it's not blocked. Yeah, and like you said, the app shows you.
So, man, I wish I could go here.
So let's see. So there are two that advance it farther. So there's bishop to f4 and bishop to g5, correct? Other moves are kind of passive, or they're going to block your pawns at best.
Yeah.
So if you went to bishop g5, can you think of a drawback if you moved it there?
G5.
So
it can only jump diagonally, not side to side, right?
That's correct. So thinking like we said, try to think 2 moves ahead. If you moved it there, it can be kicked with an enemy pawn, which is why an engine would probably prefer it go here, because it cannot immediately be moved by a pawn. So the engine, if you're going to move that bishop, would probably like bishop f4. Bishop g5 is fine too, though.
You said at f4?
Yeah, f4, if you're going to move that bishop, is a good square for it. And like you said, do people run out of time? And of course, this were a real game with a clock. Then it really would be important at the beginner level just to make one of those moves. Just the beginner level, it's not going to matter a whole lot. What do you do? Yeah, there you go. Yep, and your pawns are...
Why is it not doing that?
Yeah, you can only go diagonally, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And the purpose of your pawns, in part, is to protect your king. So now you'd probably want to consider moving one of your knights.
This is this isn't diagonal. Diagonal to me is this.
Yeah, it moves straight ahead, but if there were,
can jump.
It captures.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Diagonal. I would recommend a knight move just to establish some control over center. Doesn't really matter which one. Just.
Oh, he moved his king.
What's that?
He moved his king. Uh-oh.
He's not a bright bot. I think he had a traumatic childhood. He's just always seeking pain.
All right.
Okay. Now, what can that knight do? Can it hit anything of yours? In one move, can it touch one of your pawns? The knight that black just moved. So focus right there.
So this one can touch it to here. No, it can only would touch to here, right?
The black knight?
Yeah.
Go two and one. It works 2 in one direction, then 1 over.
Yeah. So 2 in this direction and then over.
Yep. So say the square of the pawn that it could capture right now.
Oh yeah, right here.
But what square is that?
B4.
B4. So B4 is hanging, is the term. It's hanging, meaning it can be taken and you are not defending it. So I would recommend defending it or moving it.
Well, you said moving which one? Eat the B4?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, what am I worrying about?
I can only move it here, right? I mean,
that'd be fine. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so now hold on. This is a great learning opportunity. So that's an interesting move with the Black Knight. You can attack that knight in a few ways, but he's getting smart. Okay, so the Black Knight, and like I said when I was getting a little intro, sometimes they work together. So that Black Knight and the Light Bishop, can they both put pressure on the same square? And if so, where do they meet? So like that L, so that knight can touch that pawn, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is you only have it defended one time. It's called counting captures. So your queen is the one defender of that square, but the opponent has two attackers. So you would want to consider defending that pawn with one more of your pieces.
So you're saying protected by moving it?
Okay, let's look at it this way. How could you add a protector of the C2 pawn? Yeah,
I guess move something to the side here, right?
That's correct. Which one though? Because the queen is already defending it, right?
This one?
Well, no, because the queen is already your one.
Oh yeah.
So what is your two? That could.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And so you have two choices to defend that, which of course that's correct because you don't want to lose your rook to the knight taking it there. Oh no, I messed up.
It's okay.
I forgot that's touch screen.
You scared the shit out of me.
No, I think it's going to make you do it.
It's okay.
Okay, see, so this is a great learning opportunity. Same concept. Even though I messed up, your rook can now take it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot I have a touch screen.
Oh, you're
Yep. See, so now you see how that counting captures
take it out.
concept plus. Oh, of course, yeah.
I am.
Yep. So see, so what just happened? If we go back here, I'm gonna don't panic, but I'm gonna do this. So rewind. So what did he just get? He got a pawn, which is one, right?
Yeah.
Then you got his knight.
Yeah.
So now 1 minus 3. So you are now up 2 in the exchange. Now you've lost 5 because the rook is worth 5, right?
Yeah.
So what's 2 or 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Look at it that way. Queen takes back. So that was an even exchange that benefits you because now you've got a little more activity, and he gave away 2 pieces, which is usually not good. And now I'm not going to mess with you anymore because I screwed the game up.
Nah. Hell to the no. It's not showing me where the pieces can potentially go anymore.
What do you mean?
Like when I click, you know how it'll usually show you like the direction you can move your pieces? Like it'll be a symbol.
Yeah, well, on the first
like
move
that.
with the pawns, it probably shows that just because it can go 2 or 1. And after there, it's just assuming that, you can only go 1. One move to,
I thought I can only go here.
yeah, but what would happen if
But
you
you
did?
jump me.
Yeah, then,
take me.
yeah, correct. But okay, so that's great. So if you went there and then takes, you would lose 3 because the bishop is 3, right? And only get 1. So you would be down 2 if you made that mistake. Which is why you won't make that mistake.
Is it better that I move this back? Or would you be wanting to move this piece?
Great question. Let's talk about it. There's no risk to your queen, so moving it back would kind of just take away its control.
Yeah.
What you might consider is moving your light square bishop, because then all your pieces are finally in the game, and there's a logical square for it that's open.
For this one, you said?
Something to consider, yeah. Because you don't have any way to check the opponent king, right?
But which direction does this move?
What, the bishop?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about the king? Just like that one. Remember how that one got in the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same as that one. It's just it just controls the light squares instead of the dark squares. So it can go the same route.
This way?
Yeah.
Go here?
Yeah, there.
Here.
Yeah.
What? Oh.
You got to touch it first. No, the bishop.
Oh.
You're touching the king, yeah.
Oh, my bad. What the hell? Yeah. Here or here?
Sorry, now you can do it.
I was like, what's going on?
Okay, Okay, now this is the last move. Okay. Yep. Could blow your mind with a rule, but there's some weird rules, and we're not going to do that. That's an interesting move. Yeah, I think I like that. Yeah, because now what's going to happen so you're anticipating. Well, great job. So now, though you can't take it right now, that pawn is kind of a weakness. You could argue yours is too, but now there are no pawns that can help on the A5 pawn. So the opponent would have to use a piece to defend the pawn, which of course limits its usefulness in other parts of the game. Last time I'm going to help you because the castle, remember how we talked about if you don't get your king safe, then you could lose even though you're winning.
Yeah.
So one time a game you can castle, which means you can touch your king. And you see how it's giving you more options than just the one it can normally move?
Yeah.
So tap the G1 square.
This one?
Yeah. And now your king is safe. See how it's out of the middle where it can't be attacked
Yeah.
easily? Yeah, there you go. And now play, just take your time. Oh, shoot.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's okay. Play it out. Well, you were just thinking about it, right? And then you made the move.
Yeah.
You were just looking. Yeah. Okay. So right now, what are we worrying about? That rook that just captured a piece. Can it capture another piece now that it's out?
Yeah, so it went this forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it could take out my,
That's correct.
but it could still take it out if I go here too, right?
Yes.
So there's no way I can ultimately protect it. Or well, I guess if he jumped or if he takes it, what about this piece? Or can that one not go that direction?
The pawn?
Yeah,
Yeah, the pawn can go straight.
it can only go straight.
Yeah.
So if he went here and
then-
took me here, I'd just get him right back.
Well, how would you get him back, though?
I thought you said it can go straight up.
It can move straight. It can only capture diagonal.
Mm,
So
damn.
something to consider is, what if you just give that pawn away? And you say it's your pawn now, Jimmy.
Just say fuck it.
Yeah, say fuck that pawn. Yeah, because now you're fighting for center. Great job. Great job. I didn't have to tell you. Yes, great job. Okay, and now that happened, not saying this is for sure the best move, but is there a way you can capture that pawn and defend? What was our problem pawn that we were worrying about? It was H.
Over here.
Yeah. So can you capture that pawn in a way that also defends the pawn that was a risk?
I don't see where I can move any piece that would protect this one from that.
Okay. So how many ways could you capture the E4 pawn that just captured your pawn? How many pieces do you have that you could choose to capture it with? Count them.
This guy.
Yep. So don't do it yet, but that's correct. That's one option. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying that's an option. Okay. What are the other pieces that could also? Great. So that's another choice. And then the third one is, what other piece could capture the E4 pawn? So you have your queen, your bishop, as you showed. Yeah, there you go. So those are your three choices if you want to capture that pawn. And which is the one that also, I'm not saying this is the best move, also defends the H4 pawn? Which of those pieces, if capturing on E4, would then be defending the H4 pawn?
Hold on, so you're saying if
Well, if they're both on the same horizontal, which is the only one of those three pieces you just showed that can move horizontally? Bishop moves diagonally, knight L, which leaves you with yes.
Yeah,
That would be something to consider.
but does it leave me more vulnerable? Or not yet, really? Is it?
I'd say that's a pretty good move, actually. I would at least consider it. Nothing wrong with it. Okay, so now,
Knock these fucking niggas off.
so think about this. Well, what's the first thing that comes to mind? And you're looking just like we talked about hanging pawns. Remember that pawn over there on B5, I think, was hanging, and we were talking about how to defend it with the rook.
Yeah.
What pawn of black's is hanging or for free? Actually, sorry, no, because the rook is protecting. I was wrong. Don't listen to me. There's not one. And this would be when we talk about checks and captures. If there's no obvious check or capture, you get into a little bit of strategy. So can you improve any of your pieces? The knight would be something to look at.
Which one?
Both, but I was thinking the one on H3.
Yeah, I was. Well, the only thing that worries me about doing something with H3 is because of this rook.
Oh, interesting. So I see reasons to not love H or moving the knight there, but the rook wouldn't be my concern necessarily. So I like that you're thinking. So what worries you about the rook if you did move the knight too? I think you're saying G5.
I don't know. I'm just for some reason thinking, actually no. This one can just go over one piece diagonally and take me if I go here.
Pawn? Kinda. Well, the answer is yes to your question, but think that through because that's the move I was liking also. You can't. Yeah, that would happen. You're right, but is that bad if it happened? You're saying if your pawn moves to D5?
I don't know how important it is strategically to have like both of these pieces at this stage of the game.
What do you mean, your knight and your?
Yeah, like I mean, do I want to give up a knight to?
You don't want to give up anything because Jimmy at the moment we're going to kick his ass, but he's up material. So when he's winning, you don't want to trade things because it simplifies his winning advantage. Kind of like, I can't think of a good baseball example, but I mean, in any sport, if the opponent is winning, you want to try to give yourself time or options to come back. So I would consider, hold on. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. Just think about it. So the advantage you have in this position is your king is safe. His king is in the center.
So if never mind. So if I went here, would he go here and just take that one?
Yeah, great job.
And then I could do this, right? And then take his shit.
Show me. So you're saying pawn to H5.
So, yeah, I would go to here.
Uh-huh.
And then he would take my pawn.
Yes, he would, probably.
But this one can only cross going diagonal, right?
The
or
bishop.
could I get it with this?
No, but you're saying if you went pawn H5 and then the rook took on H5,
Yeah.
so the rook is there. You're visualizing that, right?
Yeah.
The rook taking there?
Yeah.
Then really he just seems to win a pawn from what I can tell. Because, okay, let's see what he does. Interesting. Okay. What I would do. So what does that move change? Let's say that. What does that rook move change, if anything?
It can only go
Vertically or horizontally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can fuck this guy.
Which guy?
This guy. My knight.
Well, how could it hit your knight right now though? Because they're not on the same horizontal or vertical.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
So it can fuck somebody. You're right. Which one? Which pawns could it hit? Of course, there's nothing in the vertical.
This to the right to its side.
Which one is that?
A4.
You're correct. And what's the other one it could touch?
The D4.
That is correct. Is there an issue defending either one right now? Or put it this way, which of your pieces defends D4?
This guy.
That's correct. Good job. And which of your pieces defends A4?
This one.
Great job. And to add, you are correct. And it's totally fine. You're not in a bad position at all. But you do not want that pawn to fall, because then Jimmy would have an outside passed pawn, meaning your pawn would not be there to prevent it, and it could begin marching down and promoting to a queen.
Yeah.
So it's very important, at least the way the position is now, to keep that pawn on A4.
Would it be valuable to move something over here?
It might be valuable to move that rook. I would not recommend moving it to B1, because what would happen if you did?
But
Visualize
what
the rook
about
on
B2?
B1. Visualize the rook on B1 like you're saying. What would happen? Or what could happen?
Well, this one can only jump if it's on the same.
It can go horizontal or vertical.
Yeah.
Yep. So if your rook were there,
Oh yeah, it can
he
get
could
me
take
here.
it, which
Yeah.
is fine generally. I mean, if everything were equal, it's not bad, because you can recapture.
So then why wouldn't you want it to go here then?
Rook to A1.
Yeah.
That's something to consider, because what would be the advantage? It's not a great move, but what would be the advantage if the rook were to A1? There's an advantage.
That I could knock this piece off.
Basically, that you are on the A file, which would defend that.
Yeah.
Which, if the rook were defending your A4 from A1, which piece would that free? Because it no longer has to. The rook would be serving the purpose of.
So you put it here.
Well, let's talk about that, because I like that move. But first, if it were on A1, it would be defending the pawn. So,
Yeah.
what could then move? Like a puzzle. If the rook is defending A4, what no longer has to defend A4?
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah. So, if your rook were there, your knight could move. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So then the question becomes:
Let's do it.
is it worth it? And it could be. Hold up. What changed when the knight moved? Great job. Are you touching
Yeah.
the queen because it's being threatened now?
Yeah.
That's correct. And 9 minus 3 is how much? Over here, right? Knight 3.
Yeah. 6.
So that would cost you 6 if knight
Yeah.
takes, knight takes. And you, of course, don't want to lose 6. So your queen has to move.
So do I do an aggressive move, or would you play and get?
Is your aggressive move to take on C6 with check?
Yeah.
And great thought. Let's talk about it. I like that at a glance. Why is that now possible? Because you have 2, right? Because if there, the queen would capture your queen, right?
Yeah.
But then what would happen after the queen captured your queen? The reason you were contemplating that move in the first place is you have 2 to attack and only 1.
Yeah.
But previously, the rook could help the queen defend on C6, correct?
Yeah.
But now the downside of that move is it blocked the rook's vision from seeing the C6 square, which is why it's worth considering taking. It's great that you saw that without me saying anything.
But
Someone who's never played.
what's it? But am I gonna make it a harder long play if I get this piece too aggressively down here?
Say that again.
If I get too aggressive with this piece,
With the queen?
yeah, is it leave me really vulnerable later? Or
That's the right way to think about it. The answer is no. The answer is it's probably the best move.
yeah,
Because, I mean, the rook is weird, but it is stopping this pawn from moving because it's called a pin. So the rook is pinning your d4 pawn to your queen. You cannot move that pawn because the rook would then capture your queen. And if you lose your queen and only get a rook, how many points did you just give away? So 9 minus 5 is?
4.
Of course. Great job. So you can't move that pawn, which is another reason taking on c6 is something to consider. It relinquishes a pin. Great job. Okay. And then, of course, you just lost your queen, so you have to get your queen. You get the queen back, right? So you only have one move. Because Jimmy's up 11, so you have to recapture the queen. Good job.
Thank you.
And you see how you just gained one back? So now
Yeah.
he's only up 2, but you have advantages now. Okay. Mainly his king is exposed to shit. This is an important move, so let's... You want any pizza? We're going to take this through and beat his ass. You want any pizza?
Sure. I think so. I'm thinking by what I'm looking at now that I move my F2 pawn into the middle and attack the center.
Risky, but let's look at it. One thing that I don't know that I would say it's a general rule, but when you are attacking and now the king is getting in the center, if you can't keep attacking, it's at least worth looking at. Here you go. Grab either of those, whichever you want.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. What was that? You were saying like F4?
What did you say, F4?
Is that what you're saying?
I was saying move this one to here.
Why? I'm not saying you're wrong.
Oh, I always just thought it's important to establish dominance in the center.
Yeah, but also it's important to defend your king, and there's still some material left on the board. So
Let's see.
yeah, it's a tricky situation. So let's start here. What's a major disadvantage? There's 2 major disadvantages to Jimmy's position at the moment. Arguably 3, but at the beginner level, let's say 2. Of course, we talked about the king is exposed. That's the biggest weakness. What is another weakness?
Of ours? Of
Black, yeah.
Well, he actually has more pawns than I do.
Fair. But what are his pawns doing that are not good?
They're not spread out at all.
Well, that's one way to... I think I know what you mean.
They're kind of concentrated to one.
Well, they don't control anything, right? They're all back.
Yeah.
They're back and they're not protecting his king. At least your pawn is back is kind of helping protect your king. But all your pieces can move right now. They don't have to wait. Your knight could move if you wanted. Your bishop has a lot of scope. Your rook can move anywhere on the back and even up. Jimmy...
But that's the weird thing. The rook can't move to this 5 here.
Well, it can't jump over your pawn, right?
That's what I wish I could do.
I know, right? Well, that's something... It's called a dream position. It's a fun exercise. Like, what if it could? But then you have to figure out what path to take. So we're not there yet. But the issue is...
What if I get this guy here?
Where?
To 8. Would that do me any good?
What do you think?
I'm thinking yes, because if anyone comes this direction diagonally towards me, I'll be able to double back. Fuck someone in the ass.
Easy. So here's what I would say. The bishop right now has potential to work with your a4 pawn. Or right now your bishop, of course, prevents your a4 pawn from being taken. So I kind of like it being left on this diagonal because then your knight and your rook are free to attack. So let's leave the bishop there for now. Something that you could... The answer is the dark bishop for black can't get out, which sucks. That's a great thing. So there's 2 ideas. So if I was going to move anything to F4, I wouldn't do that. You can, but okay.
He did that?
Fine. That's fine because...
I didn't mean to move. So.
Yeah, no, but now your knight is a risk. But that's fine. It's not bad necessarily.
it can go to the side though, right? And get me.
Which one?
If
The
I
rook?
move the knight here, the rook, or no, it can only go straight, right?
The rook can go up
And-
or over.
Oh yeah.
So your
okay,
knight
no.
could go there as long as there's a piece defending it. And which piece is defending it if your knight went to G5, like you said?
This piece.
The pawn. So if the rook were to take your knight, you'd take back with the pawn, right?
Yeah.
And then you win because the knight is worth 3 and the rook is worth 5. Yeah, that's fun. Okay, so now, okay, think about this. This is lovely. This is so beautiful. Okay, so now, if you don't know what to do, or even if you think you might, look for pieces that are lined up. So the knight and the rook are lined up together.
So I'm gonna do this one here.
Hold up.
No,
Hold up.
I can't.
Well, I mean, that's something that can, well, then you lose your knight. But if the knight and the rook are lined up, yeah. So think about moving your, what would be a good attacking move with that bishop? Taking advantage of the fact that, again, the rook and the knight are weak.
I guess just be working its way back to the center.
But, well, kind of. But where specifically that it could attack something? Look for checks.
D5.
No, but why do you think that?
I don't know, just because it's on the cross paths plane.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good square. It's in the center. But if you moved it, how can you move it to actually attack an enemy piece? Yeah, you're close.
You go here.
What would that attack, though?
Or, well, I guess it only if something moved here.
So you have 2 pretty solid moves. What I'm saying, I'm going to tell you this. Don't make the move yet. The bishop to F3. What would happen if the bishop were at F3 that is good for you?
I can go and smash.
Yeah, you can smash the knight. You're right.
Yeah.
So that's eventually what we want to get to. So the answer is that bishop is attacking the knight. Okay. Then the rook would have to go there to defend the knight, which is under attack, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's something to consider. The other thing is you have a free pawn. Because if you were to take, yeah, so how would your knight be recaptured if you were to take that pawn? Are there any pieces of black that can get it?
No.
Great job. So look at that, and then before you do, I think that's the right move. But where does the king have to go? Because the king would like to try to put some pressure on your knight, so it has to move. But it's being cut off, correct? Because the king can't go there once you check with the knight, because the bishop is controlling.
Yeah.
So I like the knight move. Check. So he's frozen.
And I like it to be aggressive too.
There you go. Okay, great. So now, there's a few things you could do, and I like a few ideas. But tell me what you think first, because now it's getting more complicated than I would like this game to, but you're handling it very well. I kind of wish.
Should I move this guy back to the center?
What would happen if you did? It would simplify it, and you're technically not up in material, so you don't want to simplify it.
Well, I
What
don't
would happen
think
if you
he
did?
could jump me anyway if I came here, right? Or no, he could with this one.
Great job. Yes. Great job. Yep. Okay, so that's probably not the answer. Do you see why I said I would love if we didn't have our white pawn on d4? Because that file, that's called a file when they run vertically, it would be open, and your rook could go there with the knight supporting it.
So you just want to get it off d4.
No, I'm saying that it would just be nice. Like you said, dream, like I wish that could happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's actually a good exercise
For
to do
sure.
that. So every now and then you can find a way. But what's an interesting knight move? that would give you some control of the board. And attack.
I would say go in here.
Great. So what piece of black's can attack if you did go there, first of all?
This one?
No.
Or no?
The black rook, right?
Oh, yeah, it can go.
Mm-hmm. But then you would capture
Yeah.
back with your bishop. So you could do that. The weakness is it would give that pawn away. But like I said, I don't know if that pawn helps us a ton. It's something to look at.
Do I have enough protecting this part if I move it?
Huh?
This knight? Protecting this piece?
Your rook on A1 again?
Yeah.
I don't need to right now.
No, but I mean, like, if I move this here, like, when does this start to, or well, actually, no, it can, well, I guess it could take it if it got all the way down here and I didn't move it next, right? Because it could go over.
Yeah.
One on the same plane.
Yeah.
But let's
Okay.
go here.
Oh, yeah. And now I immediately regret. Okay. So now we've got chances because
That's what it should be, Nicholas.
after Jimmy, that was an error by Jimmy. I'll give you bad advice, but oh well. So now what can happen? First of all, what is the threat? The rook can check you there, right?
You check me where? Yeah, if it goes here.
Well, the other rook, because you would just take it. The
Yeah.
rook went to H1 or H1, right? Yeah. So the rook that you're worried about is that rook, yeah.
Well, I can't really do nothing with it, can I?
Well, what do you mean? Well, think about if the rook went to G3 check.
But I'm just saying I wouldn't be able to capture him on the next move. It'd have to be for a longer play.
Yeah. Well, the issue is if rook to G3 check, then the opponent's rooks are kind of working together, and that's bad because, your only escape square would be F1 if the rook checked you right now, because that rook is controlling H, right? That knight is controlling F2, so you would be forced to F1, and after that happened, the opposing rook would go there. It would be called a skewer because, and then it would be winning your rook. So if you look at rook there, your king would be forced there. After your king were forced to F1, the H rook comes to H1 check, and because your king is in line with your rook, you'd have to move it. You would lose that rook for free, and you'd lose the game.
What if I fucking take this out with this?
What would happen if you did?
Or yeah, that one could go diagonal.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have, or hold on. No, so if I took that, yeah, that did hit me here.
Yeah, I wish you could move that rook, though, now that you mention it.
Yeah.
Or that knight, I mean.
Should I move
I think
this
there's
guy
only one.
here because I can attack straight
Which one?
with this, right?
I see why you think that. But no. I think that you need to prevent that rook from G3 check. It causes too many problems for you.
So here,
So how can you prevent that rook from reaching G3? There's only one way you can do it.
is by moving this one to G3.
Well, that's A3, but no,
Or
because
sorry,
then what would
A3,
happen if
sorry.
you did? The rook would just take your rook for free, right?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. So you'd have to use your king.
But he can't really go nowhere. Not he.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would have to go to G2.
So G2.
That's the only king move that it could do. Okay. So now, hold on. So you of course see why you can't take because of the knight supporting the rook, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you only have one move that doesn't lose on the spot, which your king has to move since you can't remove the thread.
The king has to move.
Yeah, the king has to move. Which one?
It goes here
Yeah, and why can't it go to F1?
because it could go.
Because then the rook could do what we thought. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could win your rook. Yeah.
So
Good
go
job.
here.
Yeah.
Because it can attack me like this, right?
Yeah. Now we're screwed because I didn't think this through.
I
Yeah.
gotta go here.
Jimmy's suddenly playing like a competent bot.
Oh, folk.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. There you go.
You bitch. Oh,
Okay. Now hold on. Now it's
Oh.
important because I messed this all up.
Oh, motherfucker.
But you are kind of gonna survive probably.
I'm gonna clap this motherfucker.
You know you're streaming, right? Or I don't care. So whatever you want. That's the way the world's going. AI's gonna do a lot. We've
I
got
said
numbers.
clap this motherfucker.
Okay, so the great thing is that bishop can now defend and keep those rooks from hurting us too bad. So I think knight moves are pretty good. Which one? I don't really know.
We're gonna go back here.
Well, or I mean, if you have a plan, that's great. But if you can control center, it's better. If you're gonna move the knight, why not control center, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Okay.
Motherfucker.
Easy. Okay.
You know, easy.
No, I mean we haven't won yet.
Oh, I know we haven't.
Yeah, the bishop move is probably fine. Hold on. Think about it this way: is there a way you can attack two pieces at the same time? I'm tired. I've dealt on that. I'm not even paying attention. Can you attack both rooks at once, Ashton? Is there any way you could possibly do that? That'd be fun. And beat his little incompetent robot ass.
Go here? Or no, because he can get me there.
Attack both rooks at the exact same time. The same piece, and one move can attack both those rooks. It's called a fork.
Wow. I don't know how to do that.
Well, yeah, that's great. That's okay. I didn't either for a long time. So let's start with which piece am I hinting at? Which piece could attack both of those? Of course, they're not on the same horizontal.
I thought you were saying this piece could.
Well, no, you see, I'm saying like hit both those where they're both being attacked at the same time, and one of them has to move, so you'll win one. Now you're on the right track. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because your rook, of course, can't because it moves the same way. So the rook is not an option. So can the bishop even touch them? No, because they're on dark squares. Your bishop's on a light square, which leaves one piece. Of course.
Yeah, but where should I move it?
Move your knight?
Or yeah, you're saying I should move my knight?
Well, that is the answer, but why? Because the rook cannot do what I'm suggesting, which is attack both of the black rooks. The bishop is on a light square, so it can't touch them.
Okay, so I want to go here? Or
Where?
here?
Where?
If I'm a knight, go here.
What? Show me which moves you're thinking. If that happens, then the rook just take it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have anything to.
You wouldn't have any compensation.
Yeah.
Great job. So, what's another knight move that you could consider?
I could go here, couldn't I?
But you could. But what does it do? It does nothing. A knight move that attacks that rook. Where can you not move where it could reach that rook on the next move? Yeah. But also, that's what I'm saying. It can reach that rook, but it can also reach that rook.
I don't know. I didn't see that.
No, it's okay. See, so now you see how he's panicking?
Take this.
Okay, but so you are in check, which means you have to take it, but which way? There's two ways you can take it, so don't just take it, especially in the endgame. It matters a lot how you take things or refuse them.
Knock it out with this guy. to
Or
make sure that.
what is your other option?
Or well, no, this piece couldn't it?
Well, you have to react to that because you're in check. So there's two ways you can take that, and you're going to take it one way or another. Otherwise, what would happen if you don't take it? It's going to take you.
Yeah. So I can either take it with this piece or this piece.
Yeah. And which one do you want?
I'd rather take it out with this piece. Or well, no, actually, this piece, because then it won't be able to. This one won't be able to get me. Right.
I don't completely understand your reasoning, but I would probably take with the rook too, because like we talked about, it's behind these pawns that can't go anywhere.
I'm saying if I knock this one out, I won't be vulnerable to this on the next move.
Fair. Yeah.
But I'm saying if I use this to knock this out, this could go diagonal or no?
No. I can go horizontal.
Okay.
Right. Just like that one did.
Oh yeah. Horizontal.
So yeah, either that or with your king. Yeah. And now you're on an open file, so you have some more scope. And now he's just panicking. I don't understand. He doesn't want to win games. He's just not a very good bot. Okay, 1 second. Okay, sure. That's a good move, actually.
I'm going for the fucking jugular D. Get over her.
I love it. Okay. Yeah, finish him off. You're doing great. Go for some pizza. I've eaten all of it.
I'm down to eat some more.
Well, there's not here for you when it's done beating.
Thank you, sir.
Got it.
Good man. All right, dude. I did some crazy shit already. I moved this piece all the way up to here.
Yeah. Sure, why not? You're winning with 20.
Because I want to try to draw a move out of him so that I can take something. So if I moved here, what do you think he'd do? Just capture it?
Yeah.
But then wouldn't it leave him vulnerable to this?
Yeah, I mean, he's screwed because he doesn't have enough. He's vulnerable no matter what. But the answer is you probably don't want to move those pawns apart because your pawns are working together nice. Like your pawns are that one's supporting that one, so I would just leave it. Yeah, why not just promote that one? There's no one stopping it. Yep. And you could just
king me.
Well, you could just keep, just like in checkers, if you get the other side of the board, king me or queen me. So if that turns into a queen, of course, then you're even more dominant, right?
Sure, this does?
No, the pawn. The pawn if it gets all the way.
Oh. Yeah.
There you go.
Fuck you guys.
I agree.
Yeah, motherfuckers. Sorry for the language.
That's YouTube. We got to stand out. Competitive. Nice streamers finish last.
Did you see that? That's just...
Yeah. And then if you go there, it'll give you the queen.
Yeah.
So you click the queen. There you go. You're figuring it out. Good job. Okay. Ooh. Can you win the bishop just for great practice? Of course, if you took with the queen, you would lose your queen. The king would just take. So can you add another attacker to that dark bishop?
If I moved all the way here.
Great job. Yes, that's a great job. Okay. Now, however you want to do it.
Oh man, fucked him up.
Yep, sure did.
Get out of my fucking house, Grandma.
Okay.
Fine.
You just want to promote everything. You could just beat him. I mean, you have plenty of firepower. Mate, hold on. This is a rule. So, I mean, it's fun to screw with them because obviously you're going to win no matter what. But, yeah, sure, do it. Whatever. Lovely.
He's like, God damn it. You sons of bitches.
Now, in these situations, it's best to keep them in check. Just check them until you checkmate.
Maybe check them until you just move it.
No, because that doesn't come with check, does it?
Or I need to move here with this guy.
That doesn't come with check.
Oh, you're saying this?
No, I'm saying every move you make, check him. So every move you make, hit his king. So that means, rook can go there, it's hitting the king, queen can go there. I mean, you're going to win, of course, but doesn't matter. I don't care how you do it, but just keep him in check.
So here?
Well, yeah, but then what happens?
He's going to get me.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're up enough. Just play around with it, but I would keep him in check until you find a mate. There you go. Okay. Keep him in check. Keep checking him. What's the next? What's another check you can make? It's great practice. Sure. Okay. Fine. Love it. Now just bring another attacker. Just keep bringing attackers in. Powerful piece first when you're up by this much. Nope.
Oh, no.
So that's a rule called, that's why I wasn't going to mess it. So if you don't allow him a legal move, that's why I say keep him in check. Because if you don't allow the king a move, he can't checkmate himself. So you see how he can't go anywhere? That's why you just keep him in check until you checkmate when you're up by that much. So it's a type of a draw. That's where chess gets complicated.
Oh, I thought I would move this piece in so I just have more areas to attack it.
Yeah, I mean, that's logical, but I haven't told you the rules, so it's not your fault. It's technically that's why chess is
So I
frustrating.
lost?
No, you drew.
Oh, that's late.
I know, but even though you had that much,
We
I
know
never.
who won.
Yeah, exactly. I never explained the rule.
Yeah, so that's when it's only down to the last piece.
I
just thought
kind of.
Gabe would tell me.
I know, yeah.
Illegal move.
Yeah, it's something you'd have to play to understand. But you got the app downloaded, right?
Yeah, dude. If I hadn't been so busy the past week,
Wait,
I probably
what?
would have already played some. I'm so busy this time of year.
1930, did it take my reading away?
It'll die back down pretty quick.
Yeah, we've both been up all freaking day.
After 4:20,
1930.
it completely changes.
It's a robot, just. And if you watch the rerun of this, feel free to look at my account. You can always analyze yourself. Again, me and Ashton have both worked all day, so we're gonna get some rest. Have you played any games on your phone? No. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Driving.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I should actually get some time this weekend.
Yeah, a lot of it's just about playing around. Yeah, chess is a game it's like the benchmark of intelligence, but also how obsessive can you be? Which to me is part of intelligence.
Yeah.
Did it take away my
Anyone that's an expert in your field definitely is a little mad about
Oh yeah, especially chess, man.
whatever they're pursuing.
Yeah, especially chess. Especially true for chess. Yeah, sane, happy people don't do that. Okay, so it didn't take away anything. Thank God.
You guys sit there together all day with their fingertips touched together. Thinking
If you want to be great, I guess.
so how would they're gonna make all day?
Yeah, pretty much. How else could you be that good?
So are you playing a bot or are you actually playing someone online?
No, this is a guy that's been joining a lot of my lives. That is why I'm so tired. Let's just keep our phones together.
Did you ever play against anyone?
Oh yeah, I played like 50,000 games. That's stupid amounts of games.
Really?
Yeah, but I mean a lot of them between Ubers or in between blackjack shits or something where I wasn't really. I mean, I was more just doing something because I had nothing else to do. Didn't have time to take a nap. I hope you enjoyed that. Jimmy always loses because Jimmy deserves to be decommissioned. I am done playing online, at least rated games. I'm doing a lot of puzzles on my breaks at work. And I'll be playing over the board at least once every 2 weeks.
Let's go get